Hitting buttons isn't my thing. How funny is that? All right, I think we're looking good. I gotta fix this. That's better. All right. Yeah, see, it doesn't like the Instagram stuff. Just gonna give it one more shot here, folks. Hang in there with me.
Can't see your face, but you look like you might be passing a kidney stone right now.
Thanks, buddy.
Anything I can do to help?
Yeah, you're the best. All right, let's get this thing started.
Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Meh, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Hey there, Greg.
How you doing, Eric?
Doing good. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts. Today is May 19th, 2020. This is episode 130-something. I'm your host, Eric Clark, and alongside with me, hosting two, we got, say your name, Greg.
I'm just co-hosting.
No.
Greg Tubbs at the co-host chair.
If we're both
Fresh from
co-hosts,
my dining room.
if we're both co-hosts, then we're both hosts. Right?
Oh, all right. If you want to play it that way, that's fine.
I think that's great. How are things going? You got a turkey. Let's talk about that for 2 seconds.
Yeah, it came in, no gobbling at all. It was windy and raining sideways yesterday. Did not hear a gobble all morning, which is very uncharacteristic because every morning I have been hearing gobbles. And he snuck right in down the fence line and caught one quick look at him and let him close the distance to about 15 yards and shot him in the face.
That's awesome.
End of story.
And it's a good bird?
Yeah.
You're happy with it?
Yeah, I'm happy with it. 21 pounder, 21 and a half pounder, 10 inch beard and 1 inch spurs. It's a decent bird. I'll be happy with that.
Cool. I'm happy for you, man. You put some good work in to get that one.
Yeah, a lot of effort, but just
Well,
like anything else,
yeah.
Put some effort at it. You'll have some success eventually.
What you focus on is what moves. Speaking of focus, I've had 3 cups of backwoods grind coffee today, so I'm doing pretty good over here. Yeah, I'm pretty jacked, and we'll play something for you guys later in the show on the post production. But for the meantime, if you want to just sneak on over there and take a look around at their coffee blends, you can enter in code W2H podcast, and you're going to save yourself 10%. You also got some morel mushrooms. And it looks like you had taken your gum leaves for a nice trek in the woods.
I did, but I managed to forget wearing them yesterday. It would have been nice because my feet would have been a heck of a lot drier than the ASIC tennis shoes that I wore out to my blind.
Oops.
That's all right. Got to be okay once in a while.
You are becoming I mean, there's parts of you that are definitely an okayest hunter. How's that make you feel?
I'm fine with it. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Gum Leaf USA are handmade boots. We'll just say overseas right now. In England, yeah. And they are 85% natural rubber boots with a Vibram sole. They're comfortable, they're durable, they're high quality, and they're good. They're a good item. Like, it's a good thing to add to your arsenal, not just for deer hunting, but for the entire year-round season. You can wear these things all the time. Well, not, all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
for all things outdoors, I guess. At least I think we
Yeah.
do, for the most part. So I encourage it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to save some money on their boots, you can enter code W2H2020 for 10% off. And Greg, I just love it when you do the Vector Custom Shop one because you're more technical than me.
Not by much. Depends on what we're talking about. So Vector Custom Shop, if you're looking for a custom built arrow to your specs, go check out vectorcustomshop.com. These are thick-walled, heavy carbon arrows rocking the FX insert system. You can get them weighted up front with 45 to 175 grains, whichever way you like it. And they build them up in test packs, which is 2 arrows of your choice, weight and vein type, half dozen or a dozen. So the test pack's pretty cool. You can test out different spines. Like I tried the 300 spine, got it to fly real good. And then for the heck of it, I ordered a test pack of 250 spine, and I got to try them out now after I get my bow redialed.
Nice
So
work.
go check them out, vectorcustomshop.com. And if you want to save a little bit of money, save 10%, enter code WHERE2HUNT.
Boom.
That's all
Well,
I got.
I'd say you slayed it. And with us today on the line, we have guest Sam Wells, the marketing director for Chama Chairs. My wife loves the way that rolls off the tongue, Chama Chairs. Sam, welcome to the show.
Chama Chairs.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have anybody talk with us. We think we're a bunch of idiots, so welcome to the Idiot Club.
Yeah. We play the part.
No. Yeah, I'll sit right in then.
That's great. The fact that you agreed to do this, I think we talked like back in January, and then maybe again in maybe it was even before that. It could have been like December. I don't remember. It was a while back, but we lobbed this one way out there, and here you are.
Yeah, it was. And then I can't remember what came up. It might have had something to do with all this craziness that's been going on, but we had to reschedule, and here we are now. So I'm glad we're making it happen.
Heck yeah, man. And you're a Texas native. You've moved to Kansas, which is ironic because Chama Chairs is based out of Texas. So you moved away to get a job locally from back home. Why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Obviously, I just told them where you're from. But, what do you like to hunt? What do you like to hunt with? Are you a public land guy, private land guy, both? Give us some background.
Yeah. So like you said, from Texas, born and raised, and graduated from the University of North Texas in 2017. That's where I met my wife and played a little football there as well, and then took a job in Kansas after I graduated in December. My wife stayed back to finish up her master's. She was my fiance at the time, and she was nice enough to let me move away for 6 months, the last 6 months of our engagement, right before a wedding, and I moved up to Kansas and just really kind of fell in love with it pretty quickly and really enjoyed it up here. And then when we got married that following May, she moved up and joined me. And then so that was May. And then I took the job with Chama November of 2018, Chama's based out of Dallas, and that's where her entire family is from. It's kind of funny how it all worked out, but definitely blessed to be here and then to also work with Chama. But it's been a fun ride so far, and we really enjoyed up here, and it's been great. But yeah, and then one of the nice perks of Kansas obviously is you mentioned public land. We have a really cool system here in Kansas. It's called the Walk-in Hunting Access Program. So it's private land that is leased to the state for public access. We have some public tracks as well, but the majority of what I hunt is we call it WEHA land, and that's just been so cool for me, being from Texas where everything is private. Growing up, I just had to know somebody or get lucky or ask around. Hopefully some farmer in the small town I grew up in had enough hogs on his place that he needed somebody to come shoot them, and I was always there to volunteer myself. It's been really, really cool to have access to thousands and thousands of acres up here. And I've hunted everything from antelope to whitetail to mule deer, upland birds, turkey, all the above on public here. So it's been really cool. And spent a lot of time with a bow in my hand in the fall, chasing antelope, mule deer, whitetail here, and then have really fallen in love with upland hunting since moving here as well. And just got myself a bird dog, so I'm the proud owner of a 8-month-old Deutsch Trothaar right now. So we've been getting him trained up, and he's gonna be ready to go here in September and for prairie chickens, and then starting in November our quail and pheasant season will kick off, and I'm really looking forward to spending many hours with him in the field this year.
That's pretty cool. You're covering a lot of bases. I mean, you are really, it sounds like you definitely are enjoying Kansas quite a bit. You're definitely getting your fill.
Yeah. I heard about the lifetime license program here, and it's a great deal, and I'm one more quarterly payment away from having it. So I'm really excited about that. So it's definitely a sportsman's paradise up here, I'd say. And it's just nice. I live just south of Kansas City, and in 20 minutes, my wife and I can be on a rooftop bar downtown and enjoying the sun and a cold drink, and then I can hop in the truck and go an hour and a half west, and I'm into pheasants and quail, so it's hard to beat.
What's your favorite critter to chase with the bow?
So I would have to say, and that's tough. So I hunted antelope this year for the first time, and if you've never been to Kansas, it's pretty stinking flat, especially where the antelope live here. So that was just a ton of fun. It was a new species for me. I had never even seen an antelope on the hoof before in real life until I went and hunted this September. So that was just a really cool experience. It was just so fascinating to see how much ground that they can cover so quickly. The day before the season, I had a really nice buck spotted and put him to bed, and came back the next morning and set up within a couple hundred yards of where I put him to bed. And I found that goat later that day, probably a mile and a half from where I put him to bed. And, it was no big deal for him to, I guess, move in the night. And then he ended up back on the other side of the property that day. And it was just a lot of walking and a lot of stalking, but it was an absolute blast. And then mule deer is a close second. It's just so cool to drive out to Western Kansas and just big country to look at. And like I mentioned, there's some really big tracts of walk-in hunting access land, and, you can get lost out there. And I was fortunate enough in 2018 to get one with my bow, spot and stock. And it was just a really cool experience for a kid that grew up in East Texas and in the piney woods, where, the furthest you can see is 100 yards in any given direction. And that's on a good day. So it was just really cool to be out in big open landscapes with a bow and just hunting so differently than what I'm used to growing up. So I would have to say it's a tie with the mule deer and the antelope for sure.
Fun. How fun. Like, what was it? What has it been like for you in short order to like go from not hunting any of this game to learning how to hunt all new game? Do you have like a support system in Kansas of folks that are helping you, or are you just a DIYer getting after it yourself and just talking to people and YouTubing it up? Like, what has that been like?
Yeah. So as far as the big game stuff goes, it has kind of just been, YouTube videos and just, Instagram is a powerful thing. You see, guys that are, live out west, or, I've been lucky enough. There's a guy here that I know that lives pretty close to me, and he's lived in Kansas his whole life. And he's taken some great mule deer out west and antelope as well. And he's been really kind to me and kind of given me a few tips on where to go, when to go, and all that. And I'll be honest, I've called game wardens out there out in Western Kansas and just said, hey, like, I'm 5.5 hours away on the east side of the state. I know that these deer are really hard to find if the crops are still standing. Can you tell me if farmers have started, cutting their crops? Because it's that's a lot easier than driving 5.5 hours to find out that the corn's still standing and you're not going to be able to find any deer until the last 20 minutes of light. So it's just been great to reach out to people, and like I said, it's opened kind of me up to having to form relationships and talk to folks and kind of get out of my comfort zone of, well, I don't just hunt on my buddy's, family's farm and over a corn feeder out of a ground blind anymore, So that's been really cool. And then as far as the upland hunting goes, I've been fortunate enough to get adopted into a really cool group of guys up here. Our group grows every year and it's awesome, but we love to hunt birds and drive around and hang out, and some days we get skunked and some days we get into them, but it's just a lot of fun to share a field with those guys, and they've really kind of ignited a passion for upland hunting in me that was started when I was a kid, when I was young, but I haven't been able to do it in several years, and now that I'm getting to do it again, like I said, I've fallen in love with it quickly, and even got my own dog now, so it's been really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
and
bird hunting is a lot of fun. Especially when you start getting into it, and that's kind of how I got into duck hunting and doing a little more pheasant hunting too. Is I had a buddy that was big into it, and he's like, "Well, Dad and I go. Why don't you come with us?" So that's kind of how it started out for me for duck hunting. And then I ended up with a dog, and the dog was good, and the excuse was, well, I got to take the dog out bird hunting. Not for me; it's more for the dog, So
I've already booked off every weekend next fall for. And like you said, it's not for me. It's my dog's name is Jaeger. It's for him. That makes it a lot easier to tell folks why you're not ever going to hang out with them on the weekends, because you got to do it for the dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. It's a good name too. So
thank you.
Insofar as like we were talking offline before we hit the record button and went live here, and it was odd enough that I was scrolling through Instagram, and I get an ad for Chama Chairs, likely because I was on your site doing some research to try to prep for the show. But, how did you land your gig there? And what is their story? What has that been like? And then we can kind of break down the product once we kind of get a flavor for who Chama is and the name too.
Yeah. So, like I had mentioned earlier, I the agency I was working for up here in Kansas, we were introduced to Chama, and there was like a small relationship there, and myself and one of the owners, Corey Emerson, we just really hit it off and kind of developed a friendship, and he had one day we were just talking on the phone, and he was like, "Hey, what would it look like if you came and worked for us?" And I was like, I think it would look good. I think that'd be cool. So that was kind of how all that came together. It was just really just kind of a kind of off the cuff by chance thing, but definitely grateful that it happened, and it was just a great opportunity for myself, and just kind of a step in the right direction for my career personally, I thought. So that's how that happened, and that was in November of 2018, and Chama officially launched at ATA in 2017. So had been around for a year and a half or so at that point. So still a fairly new company, still just kind of getting off the ground, and really defining kind of the brand image and what they wanted to be, and the voice that they wanted to have, and the story that they wanted to tell within the hunting and outdoor community. And I was just super fortunate to kind of come in at a time when that story and everything was still young and developing, and kind of help to get it off the ground and get it going with Corey and Reagan and Alex, the owners of Chama. And it's just been really cool to see it grow from a brand that I had never even heard of personally, and I'm a gear guy, to now, when we're at trade shows, or I hear people talking about the product, and I go to my local Shields and I see it on the shelf and all that. It's just been really neat to kind of see it come from what it was when I first joined to what it is now, and it's been a real team effort and a collaborative kind of movement to get it to where it is, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So it's been really great.
How many people are there, roughly?
Yeah, so myself, Corey Emerson, Reagan Browning, and then Alex Kamak. Alex is a full-time dentist, but he's a trooper and he helps out with more than he should. Honestly, he's a great guy and comes to trade shows and everything else. And then Corey and Reagan are full-time along with myself, and we just manage all of it together. And Reagan's kind of the logistical product design side of the house mastermind, and then Corey is the big picture guy, and he's just a jack of all trades himself as well. And then like I said, I kind of handle most of the content side of things, social media, and then a good bit of the digital marketing as well. So it's a really collaborative group effort, and it's awesome.
That's a really efficient team. I mean, holy cow. You said like, it's fun. We like to, we have our own lanes that we stay in, but we also, we're all able to kind of lend a hand where need be. And it's been a real joy to work with those guys and also develop a friendship with them over the last, year and a half now. And they're my coworkers, but it's also, I could say they're my friends too. So it's cool. It's a good time, man.
That makes going to work.
Go ahead, Greg.
Going to work a lot easier when everybody gets along with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no bad days here at Chama. It's good.
I'm having some sort of technical issue with my camera. Sorry. I'm totally locked in and I don't need the camera, but it's just funny. It turned off. I did have a question lined up there. Where did the name come from? It sounded like I was trying to piece together some of the names that you were mentioning of the coworkers, and nothing jumped out at me that it was like someone's name or the initials thereof. Like, do you know the story behind the name Chama?
Yeah. So they like Corey and Reagan really like the Chama region of I believe it's New Mexico, but that's they spend a lot of time there, and it's just a cool, rugged place, lots of wildlife, and that's where they got the name Chama. And I think it, like your wife said, it does just roll off the tongue. So it's pretty nice.
That's kind of cool. And the fact that it's a rugged area. I mean, when I was looking at some of the one, I've never considered it before. I'm like, how could I not want this thing? It does it all.
They look definitely more comfortable in the what we have in the studio currently.
Well, yes, that is for damn sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's our goal. And, that's what we tell people is like, it's one of the most overlooked pieces of gear, in your arsenal. But if you have the ability to sit comfortable, all day long during the rut on a hunt, or be miserable, like, why would you not choose to be comfortable? Right. And what we found and what people have told us is, this was originally designed to be a bow hunting chair, and it's a phenomenal dove stool. We're down in Texas, lots of dove hunting. But through the years, we found that people are using it for everything. And we don't see why the Chama chair can't be, the Chama Pursuit chair can't be your daughter's softball game, to the tailgate at the Wisconsin Badgers football game. You know what I mean? It's
nice touch there.
I truly believe that it's one of those things. It's like you can spend lots of money on buying bad chairs that break, that you use for everything, or you can buy a premium product like ours and have it, and it'll last you. And I think people are always surprised at how often they end up using it, and the places they they find that it's useful for them. So it's a versatile product for sure.
Well, that where you got to buy a couple because it'll end up being so versatile that you buy it for hunting. And like, well, I'll bring it to a bonfire and I'll bring it to the game but now you have scent control problems, right? So now it's like, well, I should probably buy another one, so I have one for this type of use and one for that type of
smart.
use.
Yeah, our fabrics are DWR treated and UV treated as well, but I don't know if we've done any tests on the scent game there. So maybe we'll have to do that. That's a good point.
Yeah, just bake in some I think there are some well, whatever. You don't have to get super ridiculous with the engineering, but I don't know if you can engineer in some scent lock or something like that.
Yeah, that's something to look into for sure. But and then you don't want the deer at your kid's softball game to smell you either, so that's good.
Right. That's funny. I don't know, man. The use cases are kind of cool. Like some of the features that I'd seen, like the super big feet on those things, the fact that it swivels and it locks into place, the fact that the legs are telescopic. So if you're on a hill, you can maybe make the back two shorter and the front one longer. So you're still, you're at least your ass is even and you're not dumping yourself out of your chair.
Yep.
The back looks strong the way it snaps in. And is it pretty light in terms of like portability when you put it into the bag? Is it, how heavy is it? Because it's so durable, is that a concern or?
Yeah, I mean, it's 8 pounds in the bag. So what your, total weight isn't too bad. But with our carry bag, it's got a padded adjustable, strap on it, 2 carry handles. So once you get the chair in the bag and, if you're packing in for a hunt or whatever, you don't really even notice it's there. And a lot of times, like I mentioned, I hunt on public. So what I'll do is I'll take just the chair itself and then the backrest and strap it to my Mystery Ranch backpack and hike in with it that way. And then if I'm going, if I'm hunting a property where maybe I already have a blind set up or whatever, I'll carry the chair in the bag and then just throw my, my wind checker or my calls or whatever in the accessory pouches that are on the bag. And then you're ready to go. And there's tie down straps on the back of the bag as well. So I'm a photographer as well. So I throw my tripod in there, shooting sticks during rifle season. It's super versatile. And like you mentioned, with the adjustable legs, no matter what ground you're on, no matter what kind of terrain you're on, you can always sit level. And I don't think people really appreciate that until they sit crooked in a chair for several hours. And then you realize,
miserable.
It is. It really is. And with our wider seat frame, it doesn't cut into the back of your legs like typical triangle chairs do, or even square chairs. You kind of get that tension on the back of your hamstrings after a while, and it makes it uncomfortable. And as we all know, the longer you can sit still, the better chance you have of getting game. So that's kind of what we're all about. We just make it easier for you to hunt better. That's kind of our mission. So they did a great job when they designed this chair, and any tweaks and modifications we've made along the way have all been to improve it, and we're really happy with what we have right now for sure.
It's a cool product. You guys got a couple color options. What without giving anything away, and if you can't, you can't, but like what type of, I noticed your name is thoughtfully branded to just Chama. Not Chama Chairs, although like that's where the email address is at, and that's the the name at the bottom. But with it being branded that way, are there other things you guys are looking to roll out in the future from a gear standpoint? Because you've done such a good job with engineering this one. Is there more on the horizon there?
Yes, there definitely is. I can't give away too much, but anybody that's listening, definitely keep an eye out in the coming months. We've got something we're really excited about, and we're anticipating September, October-ish for that to get here and be ready to go. But it's kind of a different niche for us, but it's gonna serve all the same people, and then some. So it's gonna be really cool to see how that helps us grow, and then also how people find this new product useful, and it's just really going to open up a lot of doors for us, and we're really excited about that. But yeah, you know that we've kind of evolved from this is the Chama chair to now this is the Chama pursuit chair, because we've got plenty of plans for things coming down the line. So just trying to keep it clean there. So, but that's all I can give away for now. So I apologize.
No, man, that's okay. I apologize for asking an egregious question. Like, tell me what you're up to.
No, that was not at all. It's hard for me. I with the marketing content side of things, I want to tell everybody that, what's coming, but a product release is not nearly as cool when everybody's already known about it for a while.
That is
so
true.
You got to kind of keep it hush hush. Right.
That's true. I have a problem with that too. I just want to give everything out right away. I can't surprise my wife or anything either. Like, I just am not built to surprise people. It's a real struggle.
Oh, I'm in the same boat. Yeah. My 2-year anniversary is coming up, and I'm just every day I'm like, I'm gonna spill the beans on what I got coming. I just know it. So it's funny.
Yeah, my wife almost begged me to surprise her for Mother's Day, and I couldn't. I was like, no. And plus, it's COVID, and we're trapped in the same house together 24/7. I'm like, what the hell am I going to surprise you with? I'm going to build you this piece of furniture. Like, you're going to see me doing it.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's awesome.
So, how many of these chairs do you have? For the things you do, do you have a couple different ones for different types of use cases, or like I have to imagine you're rocking a couple. Being
working with content and then being a photographer myself, some of the photos we use are my own, but I have one in each color. And then, man, I tell you what, the gray one is really cool just for everything. Our vintage camo is awesome. That's a proprietary camo that we designed. So we really like that. And it's just a cool, unique kind of pattern and everything. But I use the black a lot in ground blinds. That's what I'll use. And then when I'm duck hunting, I'll use the camo. And what's awesome is, you can take the backrest off. So if you have a shell bag on or anything like that for dove hunting, I usually pop that off and just use the chair as a stool. But yeah, they're all great. And, you can use whatever color you want, and really in any situation, and they fit right in. So it's cool. And because of the design and everything, I've had people stop me and we hear of our customers, people will come up and be like, what is that? It's just a really eye-catching design. And especially with our vintage camo, a lot of people start asking questions. We've had people ask where can I get this camo? I want a shirt in this or whatever. And there's a local Texas clothing company called Two Dove Outdoors, and we've talked with them about getting them some of our fabric to make shirts with and stuff. So it's been really neat to see people kind of latch on to that vintage camo of ours and really appreciate it for kind of the cool look that it is. So they're all versatile options for sure.
Yeah, it's cool how things evolve like that. Once you put it out into the world, what people end up doing with it, you think one thing and then the market tells you something else, and it could be good or bad. And in some cases when it's good, it's like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, this is great. I didn't expect it to go here at all. It's always a pleasant surprise. Yeah. It's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What a fun brand. What a fun journey, and you're doing photography too. I took a look at some of the things you're doing there, and your work is great. It's cool that you get to flex some of that stuff also.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. Yeah. It's been a fun kind of journey. It's really helped me kind of spur my passion for the outdoors. I first got a camera in high school just because I was doing so much hunting, and I wanted to share that with my family and kind of show them what I was up to out in the woods with my buddies. And then it kind of evolved into something that I thought I could really pursue as maybe a career someday, or kind of a side hustle type thing. And that's one of the great perks of working with Chama is I get to go out in the field and hunt and use the product and kind of share stories with our audience about what I'm doing on specific hunts or really documenting, because we're a group of guys that we like to hunt too, and we like to spend time in the field. We like to go to the river and fish and do all the things that, the people that are part of our brand like to do. So it's been really cool to kind of develop some authentic stories through that. And I just love having a camera in my hand. And, Kansas, I think, is a pretty place, and there's lots of good stuff to photograph up here. And it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, and like the people that you work with, you mentioned, I heard about you guys from Ward Hegler, aka Ward Danger, with musket powder. He put me in contact with you directly, I believe, and he's down in Texas. I won't ask how you know him. I'm not actually sure, but maybe that's not a question we want answered. I don't know. It's Ward. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And then I was talking with Johnny Utah today, aka John Mulligan, and he knows you guys too. And I'm like, man, everyone knows Chama. Like you guys, like you said, you came to ATA in 2017, and like it's only been 3 years, and you look like a fully matured company. Like your branding is so on point. So you've done a great job, man.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, it's been a team effort, and I'm just really fortunate to kind of help be a part of all that. But yeah, those are the two guys you mentioned there are awesome, and Johnny Utah, John Mulligan, he's been really good to us and helps us out a ton with content, but also just being a good ambassador for our brand. I mean, he's a great dude, and he's as authentic as they come as well. So, that's what we're about. If you look at our ambassador page on our website, I think everybody on there, I wouldn't hesitate to have a beer with. So that's kind of when we partner with people, that's who we look for, and we want people that follow us and that are a part of our brand and part of our audience to feel that way about us too. If you ever run into one of us somewhere, stop and let's talk about hunting stories, or exaggerate the size of a fish we might have caught, or whatever. So that's what we're all about, and we're sportsmen and hunters and outdoorsmen as well. So it's just cool to get to merge the two and mix work with your passion. It's really a blessing to be able to do that, for sure.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I just started browsing through the list, Sam Soholt's on there. He called in a couple weeks ago. We had Aaron Hitchens on. He called in, and he was a guest on our show towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year. It's all a blur. I don't remember what day it is, let alone now what week or month it is. But it's cool to have a good group of guys like that are rocking your stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, fun, man. What a fun gig to have. I don't know. It sounds like a dream job in what we'll call the hunting industry, if we dare call it that. But
yeah,
I don't like to call it that, but it is what it is. It's a fun space.
Yeah.
How about
no.
at this point, I guess I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but we're covering ground pretty quickly. I think, given all of the hunts you've had in Kansas in such short order, or over such a quick period of time, you've made quick work of learning new territory, new species, and how to hunt them. Do you have a hunt that sticks out to you so far as something that you would, say, this is the most memorable hunt? This is the one that I go to in my mind. What is that hunt for you?
Yeah, I think it would probably be my mule deer hunt in November of 2018. It was with a buddy of mine here, and he got a day off work, and I had actually just taken the job with Chama like the day before, and I was like, hey, can I start on Monday kind of deal, because I've got this hunt planned, and of course they obliged. So we loaded up in the truck and just threw a tent in the bed of the truck and grabbed our bows and headed out to western Kansas. And I was talking with a guy, and he was like, yeah, like I've hunted this property before. I shot a buck out here a couple of years ago, and he like dropped me a pin on X and was like, park here, and the deer are probably going to be over here. And it just worked out perfectly. Like we parked, we got out, literally where he dropped the pin, there was a buck with a few does and some smaller bucks just hanging out, on this hillside. down in by this drainage, and we watched them that afternoon and just saw a really big deer, probably a 180, 190 type mule deer, which I had never even laid eyes on anything like that before. I was just in awe. I just sat behind the spotting scope for 2 hours and watched it nonstop. And the next morning, we slept in the tent on the side of the road, and next morning got up and kind of started making our way through this drainage and set up to glass at daylight, and saw some deer. And I saw a doe jump over a fence, and there was a buck behind her, and I saw that she was going into this specific drainage, and I was like, I'm gonna go over there and see what happens, and kind of snuck my way down the hill, and right as I crested the hill and started to go down into the drainage, I saw the doe, and I just set up behind a yucca bush, and she walked the length of the drainage, and I don't know what happened. I think it was just, good luck on my end, but she stopped and turned and started to walk up this little finger to my left. And the buck was drooling and grunting and everything else. And just his neck was, looks like a 50-gallon drum. And he followed her, and I came to full draw and had him at 40 on the dot, and squeezed off the shot and perfect double lung. And he laid up in like 20 yards. And it was just, that hunt sticks out to me because my friend, he moved to Colorado shortly after that. And that was kind of the last hunt that we got to have together here in Kansas. And, to hunt and finally get my hands on an animal that I'd only seen on TV before, growing up in East Texas. And, I'd always dreamed of doing it, but I always thought it would be in Colorado or Montana or, South Dakota, somewhere like that, to do it in Kansas and have that opportunity to take advantage of all that Kansas has to offer, and just an over-the-counter tag, do-it-yourself type thing. And just that'll always be really special to me. And that was my first buck with a bow to boot. So it was kind of cool. I never imagined that, the first buck that I would take with a bow and arrow would be a mule deer. I always thought it'd be some, skinny little whitetail from East Texas or something like that. But yeah, that's my most memorable hunt here in Kansas for sure.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty rad. Your first buck with a bow was a giant millie in Kansas. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah. I don't know about giant. He was a good deer though. I wasn't gonna pass.
I mean, a mule deer's
they're
just big, right? Like, I mean, they're a little bit bigger than whitetail. Yeah.
Well, that's what blew my mind. I mean, like I said, I was used to East Texas whitetails, and then when I walked up on that thing, I just couldn't get over how big the body was. And when I started cutting him up, I pulled the hide back, and it was white, and I had never seen fat on a deer before. And it kind of threw me off. I was like, what's wrong? You guys know, being in Wisconsin, your deer are all big and well fed, just like ours are here. But I was like, well, I've never seen fat on a deer before. So that was pretty neat.
Interesting. Wow. It's kind of cool hearing that kind of stuff from people, like, hunt different states like that. We've been talking to people from so many different places. You pick up on different things, climate and color and things like that. I wouldn't have thought of that either. The fat content on an animal compared to, where you're from. How much meat do you have? Do you have a couple of chest freezers then? Like, how much meat have you packed into your freezer since you moved back? Like, what kind of meals are you cooking, man?
Yeah, no, we eat a lot of it, and that's the best part to me. That's always rewarding. But no, I don't have a chest freezer. I need to get one. But at the time, my wife and I were living in a 1-bedroom, 900 square foot apartment. And we just had like a little, just a normal fridge in there with a little freezer on the top. And she had shot a doe that fall as well. And we were slammed full. That's for sure. We were, trying to give it away, or we were having our friends over and making burgers and stuff, just trying to get through it so that we could make room. But yeah, our freezer was, a frozen bag of berries for my wife's protein shakes. And then about, how many ever pounds 2 deer worth of meat is in the freezer. So it was kind of funny for a while. It was a lot of red meat was getting eaten in our house. So it was cool.
That's fun. How are you cooking most of that up? Do you have any favorite meals or any favorite way to prep them?
Yeah. So, burgers are great, obviously, chili, all that good stuff. But I think I like eating whole cuts. I enjoy red meat. I enjoy it rare to medium rare, and I've kind of gotten into sous vide cookery in the last year or so. And I think for lean red meat like deer, it's hard to go wrong with that style of cooking. Just put it in a hot water bath for a couple hours, and at 120 degrees, and then get a cast iron skillet, screaming hot with some butter in there and some, fresh rosemary and thyme. And after the meat's cooked in the sous vide, pat it dry and put it in the cast iron and get a nice crust on there and slice into it. And that's some of my favorite meals are definitely just good old deer steaks. So it's hard to beat that.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Do you have one of those things, Greg? Have you tried that yet? The sous vide?
No, the sous vide. It looks interesting. I mean,
it's hard to wrap your
I've
brain
never tried
around
it that way. Yeah, I mean, I'm always doing mine on the grill, usually on the charcoal. If I need to, I'll do it on the gas grill. But otherwise, it's in the cast iron pan on the stove with some avocado oil or a little bit of butter.
Yeah,
and just get that crust on it.
You can't go wrong with that either. It's just a kind of a nice way to assure that you don't dry it out. It's really all that it prevents you from doing. So
yeah, I'd say for someone like me, it's idiot proof.
I'm kind of a foodie, so
I
enjoy all the cool little tools you can use in the kitchen.
A buddy of mine, actually, our CTO for the Where to Hunt app, Joe, he's like, dude, I'll throw in the sous vide and I'll keep it in there all night because it's not going to overcook. It just stays at that temperature. And that's the part that I'm like, huh? Like what?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Yeah,
and then he sears it. Yeah, it's so weird to me. But I guess we have not the one that you can buy, but we have an Instapot, and I guess it has a sous vide feature, which we have yet to try out.
Huh. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I really enjoy it. We for Christmas, my wife's family always does a prime rib, and in the past few years, cook it in the oven, and it always turns out great. But it's like, it's kind of well done on the outside, but then the middle is still almost so raw you can't really eat it. And then this year we did it in the sous vide, and it was just perfect 135 from the outside to the inside, and then seared it off in a big skillet, and it was phenomenal. So I'm a big advocate of that. So if you ever get your hands on one, definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty cool way to do it. A tasty one at that. Looks like our buddy Jared just popped in a little bit ago. He says so he's in Arkansas, and he said I'm a little late to read this. He said East Texas deer and Arkansas deer are very similar. He's talking about when you're seeing fat on the deer in Kansas and not down in Texas.
Oh yeah. It was funny. Another favorite hunt of mine, my wife, her first deer. She was just my girlfriend at the time, but we were at my grandparents' small little farm in East Texas for Thanksgiving, and she was like, I want to try deer hunting. So we went down there and got set up, and a little buck came out, and it was awesome. She made an incredible shot, and we walked up on it, and just I felt like my dog was bigger than that thing, but it is really cool to see these big bodied Midwestern deer. But I'll never forget that day either, because I shot my first deer on that hillside, and she shot her first deer there, and it's just really cool. And hopefully my kid can shoot his first deer on that same hill too someday. So it's really neat.
That's awesome. What kind of bow do you shoot for archery?
Yeah, so I shoot the Matthews Verdicts. I've been a Matthews guy for the last few years now, and I've never shot better than I am with this Verdicts, and I just really like it. I think it fits me really well, and practice trumps everything, obviously, but it helps when your equipment helps you out a little bit too, and that bow's been awesome, and I really enjoy it. So I don't think you can go wrong with the Matthews in my book.
Greg, what are you shooting these days? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've got a Matthews. I've got got the Halon 32, so the older version of a Vertex. They took and shrunk the Halon down into the Vertex platform, and now they've got a couple other ones out since then. But that cam profile has been a pretty good cam for them, I think. And they're, it's a split limb and a pretty nice machined riser that's on those bows. So it's a quality bow for sure.
I got the Bear Empire, which I think is a pretty old bow, single cam. I like it. It's quiet. It's really quiet, but it's probably not as fast as some of the other ones on the market. Maybe I'll have to look at that sometime. I got to get on some better deer first before I think about upgrading a bow. You gotta figure that part out.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
I hunted with like my first bow for so many years, and then when I started, I got the Matthews, I think it was the Triax or whatever, is the one that they had before the Vertex, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to give up this bow. I mean, I've been hunting with it for so long, and it still works. I can hit what I'm aiming at and everything. So, when you have gear that works for you, it's hard to want to move on to something else. That's for sure.
Right.
So, Jared, you should just call in, buddy. He's commenting again, but we're nearing the end. But he said, by the way, the chairs are the bee's knees. As a guy that's used to sitting in cheap blind chairs, these are like trading your Honda in for a Lambo.
I like that. I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to use that for copy on social media sometime. That'll be a caption.
Yeah, dude, get like some sort of meme, right? Get the Honda and the Lambo. And it's funny though, because my dad sits on some shitty ass stool and it like digs into the mud and then it collapses and folds, and he brings this goofy stool out there. I guess the only good thing is if he forgets it, which has happened, it's no big deal. But I had like a tripod chair years ago, and I loved it for ice fishing more than anything. Because it was like, it had the same framework as yours. Design-wise, it was nothing like yours, some cheap Gander Mountain brand back when they were still around. And eventually the fabric ripped, on the part where it's like compressed to the metal. But it had a cup holder right in the crest there, right where your crotch is. So you put your beer right in your crotch, basically. And, you tip back, lean back, and jig, jig, jig. I like that style chair a lot. So, like, I think that's probably what caught my eye most about what you guys have. It's a great design. It's a good product.
Yeah. We got a couple guys that ice fish out of ours, and we always tell people it's not a napping chair, but it is comfortable. So it's funny at trade shows, some old guy will come sit down and he'll be like, "Oh, I can't take a nap in this," and we're like, "Well, I bet you could. Looking at you, I bet you could probably fall asleep."
That's funny. You could put it in the case and put it on the ground and use it as a pillow. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Another good use case for you. No, that's cool, man. Thanks for sharing your story with us, how you kind of came to be. It's interesting. We're a bit of a generalist podcast. We dive into, all sorts of topics and guests from, high schoolers down in Louisiana to, Aaron Hitchens and some of the bigger names out there, and a lot of guys that no one's heard of for tactics and tips. And we talk about products, but we also like to get the flavor, at least I like to get the flavor of, people's stories into how did you get into the outdoors. A lot of our listeners are aspiring to do something in the outdoor space. So it's cool to hear that side of it too,
Yeah. No, you guys do a great job, and thanks for having me on, and I'm more than happy to do it anytime. And, to your comment there, if there's anyone that's, wanting to get started in hunting or photography or fishing or whatever it may be, my experience in life is you just got to do it, take one step at a time. And I typically find myself jumping in head first to anything that I start doing. And, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But, I think if you find a mentor and really reach out and like I said, use social media, there's lots of people out there that are more than willing to take somebody along with them and share their passion for hunting and fishing in the outdoors. I've been on my fair share of hunts with guys here and back home as well, that I just shot a message to on Instagram and was like, "Hey, if you ever have, an extra seat available in your truck, I'd like to join you." And a lot of times people are more than happy to do that. So that's always a great resource. But just be smart that you don't, get into somebody's vehicle that's a total stranger, I guess. But most of the time, it's always fun.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You got to watch yourself. I mean, I like Greg in my house. I'm still not sure about that one.
Yeah.
I hear him chuckling back there with his creepy chuckle. Come on, Greg.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm going to smoke that salmon that we got last year, by the way, now that I got that fancy smoker.
You better not screw it up. That's all I'm going to say.
Can't be that
worked
hard.
for that,
There's good instructions. I'm learning, though. Talk about, like, that's why I ask you, Sam, like, how are you prepping all that food? I got this new Pit Boss pellet grill, and I've just been throwing everything on there, from muffins to bacon to
There you go.
everything, man. It's awesome. It's also nice to have like a separate stove outside. If Holly's cooking something, my wife, and on the stove, I can fire that thing up and we can get two things going at once. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just got a smoker in March, and I've been smoking everything that you can smoke. So it's been fun. It's a cool way to cook for sure.
That's funny. Yeah, that's how it goes. Hey. Well, thanks for your time on the show. We appreciate it. We'd love to have you back at some point. We always think that, the first episode's the kind of intro, and then, if we get you back for another, we can dive into some of your DIY hunts and how you've kind of dissected that and got into it, and maybe pick a species and jam out on that.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. Yeah, hopefully this turns out to be a good episode for you guys, and it'll be worth having me back on. But if not, then you got my number, and we can talk about hunting or shoot the bull about whatever. I'm always down to talk about being outside. So.
Oh yeah, man. How do people find Chama Chairs? I'm sure it's obvious with a name like that, but like, do you recommend anybody go? Obviously, trade shows are kind of not a thing right now, but retail stores, online, how do they get in touch?
Yeah. So chamachairs.com, and then social media at Chama Chairs on Instagram and Facebook. Shoot us a message there, and I'll get back to you personally through those channels. And then, but we always we have a great dealer network, and right now more than ever is a great time to support those folks. So if you want to get a chair on our website, you can find a dealer list. So you can search and put in your zip code and find if there's any local dealers near you. And then if not, like I said, chamachairs.com, you can find us there. We're running a spring sale right now, and it's ending soon. So this is our lowest price of the year right now. So if you want to get your hands on one, now would be a great time to do it. So you can find us there, social media, and then we're always looking to help folks, and always down to, like I said, talk about hunting or whatever. So shoot us a message, and we'd love to chat.
Rock on. Cool.
Ooh.
Thanks so much. With that, folks, we're going to end the live broadcast. And as you all know, this thing will be produced into podcast land this evening. So thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you. See ya.